La cucaracha, la cucaracha, la 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 la. La cucaracha, la cucaracha, the gayest dance in Mexico. La cucaracha, la cucaracha, la 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 la. La cucaracha, the gayest dance in Mexico.
When I was a child, I was largely subatomic. When I was born, I was less than the size of an atom. I grew, but it did take me a very long time to get to a stage where I was visible to the naked eye. For a long time, I could only be seen by sophisticated equipment. Scanning electron microscopes and the like. And that, I don't overstress the importance of it, but it can be quite lonely to be a child and to be that small. My friends are mostly other subatomic particles, protons, neutrons, electrons, neutrinos. I'll never forget, actually, how old would I have been? 6, 7? Probably about 7. By this time I was roughly the size of a proton or an electron, and I was more accepted by them in the playground because I was more their size. For children, children can be very cruel. So can subatomic particles. But luckily they'd begun to accept me because now I was roughly the same size as them. And I remember we were in the playground one day, and I think we were just sharing a cigarette or something. And a group of neutrinos came past, and neutrinos are very, very small, a lot smaller than electrons, protons, and me at that stage. And there were lots, very, very small neutrinos, hardly any mass at all, And one of the electrons said, "Look at that bunch there, let's go and have a bit of fun with them and bully them," and that sort of thing. And I remember, it had only been, a year, 2 years since I was the same size as them and being bullied myself, but I found myself joining in with the bullying of these little neutrinos, and, it's what children do, obviously. We just want to belong, don't we? But I do feel bad about it. I feel genuinely bad that we don't learn our lessons, do we? We become like the people who've oppressed us. Anyway, that was my childhood, more or less. There were neutrinos, there were positrons, there were electrons, and later, as I got larger, I did grow, of course. By the time I was ready to leave school, so I would have been about 18 or 19, I was roughly the size of a sugar cube, and that did make a difference.
La cucaracha, la cucaracha, la 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 la. La cucaracha, the gayest dance in Mexico.
I wasn't particularly politically engaged, but I did join the Labour Party, although what I really wanted to do was run a record company, although I didn't know any record companies at the time whose chief executives or A&R men or anyone in a high position who were as small as I was, so I joined the Labour Party. Because, I consider myself a socialist. What happened, basically, the story is quite well known now, but, basically what happened, it was 1978, and they were on the eve of Thatcher's sweep to victory, and that's when I joined, and then 79 came, Thatcher got in, 1980 came, and the party was disillusioned with James Callaghan as leader, and the ballot was held as to who should be the new leader. My name went forward, and I was voted. I was duly voted leader of the Labour Party. Well, it was a great time for 3 or 4 months because I'd managed. I felt at the time, yes. Yeah, in many ways, I felt I'd managed to combine my interest in left-wing politics with what I really wanted to do, which was run a record label. So I signed up Ian Dury and the Blockheads for my first. Well, they were my first big signing. Before that, there was a band called Gash, but they weren't terribly bad. And Ian Dury was next in the Blockheads, and who else was it? The Selector. I know I heard them for a brief time. They had a bit of trouble with the two-tone label, and I signed 6 or 7 other bands who not as well known. The drummer out of Tenpole Tudor was in one of them, and it was a nice little stable of talent that I was building up. And then one day, James Callaghan, who'd also put his name forward in the ballot for leader, came up to me and said, "You're small," he said, for one thing, "and you think this is a record company," and both of those reasons are enough, really, for me to put forward the due process. And the due process was put forward, and I left the Labour Party, but not before, I think it's fair to say, urinating quite liberally over at least 30, maybe 40%.
La cucaracha, la 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 la. Oh.